Hello, everybody. Welcome back. We have another Jet podcast here, as we do throughout the season. And I guess we all knew the Jets were eliminated from the playoffs prior to this game, but I didn't know it was an official elimination game. I'm not sure if that makes it any better. They battled tough. They lost in overtime. It seems like everything that can go wrong for the Jets this year happened in this game. It was like a microcosm or whatever that word is, a summary of how the season's going. And let me turn it over to Ed now and get his opinion on the game.
Well, I think, Dave, as I texted you, I think after the first drive early on that game, it was started off a typical Jet game. I mean, the defense looked like they were still, they're still half asleep. Miami ran down the field right away,
Oh,
and I said to myself, "Oh boy, here we go again, another one of
yeah,
these games." I think I texted you something along the lines that the defense is still, didn't make the fly. Whatever I said, a joke about how bad they look, how
yeah,
flat they looked.
yeah,
And then a little surprise, the Jets came back. They got a field goal, I think, right after that, and they were going back and forth with scores. I mean, the Jets, I don't think, had their first punt till I think the second half, so they did
yes, yeah,
score. They did move the ball. Aaron Rodgers, he looked good to me. He threw over 330. He threw for 339 yards, no interceptions. I thought he looked good.
yeah.
He moved around a little bit. He took a couple of bad sacks, but for the most part, he did some nice throws to Garrett Wilson, to Devontae Adams. Um, the two running backs, I thought did well too. I think Allen and Davis, I know filling in for Brees Hall. I thought they did okay.
Yeah, they did very well. Yeah.
And to me, it
Uh,
comes down to the defense let us down again. I mean, they couldn't hold them, and they kicked the field goal. The Jets to go up late in the game. They can't hold them. Miami scores the tying field goal, then overtime first drive, boom, and it just like to me the defense let. I know Sauce didn't play, and CJ Mosley is out. He's on injury
yeah.
reserve. I think he's done for the year. Maybe his Jet career is done as well. But some always going the Jets will always find a way to let you down.
Well, Eddie, once again, this is like a deja vu from last week's podcast when you said I thought of Dave and he was going to be happy that the Jets were doing something. But you talk about Aaron Rodgers, and I'm going to tell you what I think about Aaron Rodgers, and I'm glad that there's a little bit of a different page thing here. First of all, I didn't realize. Do I want to say how bad he is? I was never like when everybody talked about Aaron Rodgers. I never saw him in the same light as other quarterbacks. Like, what has he done? He won one Super Bowl. I just don't see him lighting up the field every day before he became a Jet. So what happens? I think if you can correct me, I'm not sure exactly. I don't want to, they said he passed for 300 yards since the first time in 2021.
I didn't hear that. I was thinking more or less the first time he's thrown it since he was a Jet.
I mean, we could look that up to see, but I mean, I think that's what they said. And I feel Aaron Rodgers overthrew a few people, held on to the ball too long, and once again, and which now this is Aaron Rodgers, so I'm not to say this, okay? He's supposed to be a Hall of Fame superstar. This should never happen. We should never see him holding on to the ball too long, which he did way too many times. And also, for more than this game, a few games I've seen, this is like what Zach Wilson would do. He locks on to Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson, or somebody else is wide open, and he's not even looking in that direction. This is like having Garrett Wilson playing quarterback. I'm glad you said what you said. I don't see it. I just think that if he would have played better, the Jets could have possibly won. Now, that being said, the defense is absolutely horrendous this year. I mean, when they in overtime, like there's no way they're not scoring the Dolphins. They're definitely going to score. The Jets could not stop them. And it amazes me that Tyreek Hill, the best receiver on the team, and they all know it, is open all day long. Go ahead, Ed.
Well, let me say this. I would say, well, Tyreek Hill only had one catch. No, he didn't. He had a big game at 10. The one thing that I might have low expectations for this team, as you know. So when I said he played well, I was surprised that he threw for over 300 yards. And I
agree with that. I agree with that. They played well. Yeah.
I don't think he looked. Sometimes I think he's hurt more than he is. I didn't think that this week. I thought he looked okay.
Yeah.
Like I said, I have such low expectations for this team, Dave, that when I say he played well, I'm not saying that he was this Hall of Fame quarterback. I'm saying he threw for over 300 yards and one touchdown, which is.
I agree with you. I know what you're saying. Like I know, I know
my expectation is so low that when he looked okay, it's oh wow, this is they scored. They had 400 yards total offense, the Jets. I was like, wow, that's not that's
and who would think that
400 yards?
Who would think that the Jets would even be able to score this many points and have that much offense and the defense? I mean,
lets him down.
Ed, I this is the first time I'm watching football for decades, is it really just coaching? Because so all these teams don't have superstar players. I mean, the Patriots never had a superstar player except for Tom Brady. They never had the best defensive player, the best running back.
Oh, I think you're right. It's the culture. It's the whole culture around the Jets. It's just not a winning culture.
So now I'm going back to can you imagine? I think you agree. We're blow up this team. We have an all-star on paper team, and now we're bring on the no name. I mean, we can't do any worse with we had a better record with Zach Wilson last year. I mean, it's just nuts, No,
agreed.
Nuts.
I think you need to blow it up. I wish you would sell the team. I mean, get a whole new fresh blood in there, but that's not going to happen.
It's going to be a long time. It's going to be, it is what it is. We're football fans. We're going to watch Jets. We're going to watch all the football, I was thinking wow, if they could beat the Dolphins, they got the Jaguars coming up and they could really make some noise by having those 2 wins in a row. And like you said last week, how they were in the hunt, and we can see that they're still in the hunt. I mean, of course, I think we're both kind of glad that it's over with to an extent. But, do you think Aaron Rodgers is going to finish up the season without getting injured? Or here's my thought, Ed. I'm thinking if Aaron Rodgers really wants to play next year, he probably has less than a 50% chance of playing the Jets. He might tell the coach, you know what, listen, put somebody else in. I want to play next year. I don't want to get hurt. We're out of the playoffs. Do you think that's a possibility?
I don't know him getting that kind of money in that deal. He could just say, I don't want to play anymore. I think he's gonna toe the company line and say he does want to play. Maybe the Jets themselves might just say maybe they'll have some sort of agreement. Maybe they'll say, we're not going to play in the rest of the year. We made the decision, not Aaron Rodgers, to do it. I don't know. It's going to be interesting the next couple of weeks.
As we discuss this, Ed, I'm just thinking to myself, and I'm going to share this, of course, with you and everybody else. The Jets are not in a situation to say, you know what, we're out of the playoffs. Let's see what this unknown or rookie quarterback can do for the Jets, because they have Tyrod Taylor. So you're right. In that point, we know what Tyrod Taylor can do too. So let's just write it out with Aaron Rodgers. So that makes a little sense too,
Yeah, no, because there's no one that you said if you had a Tommy DeVito, a young guy, why not throw him in there and get some excitement? But you don't.
Yeah. Even the last 1 or 2 games of the season, they would probably do it just for shits and giggles, So
it'll be interesting to see what they do. That is going to be interesting.
It will be, and how they play against the Jaguars. I mean, it's funny now because, even if they beat the Jaguars by 20 points, who gives a shit at this point? It doesn't really matter, But everybody's already in next year mode. But listen, let's change gears a little bit. Let's talk about the rest of the NFL.
The big game next week, the big Buffalo and Detroit next week.
I tell you, Ed, I got to get your feeling on this, and you probably feel the same way I do. I am always amazed when I watch 2 teams, and I guess maybe it's a lack of defense, obviously, but they're going up and down the field, both of these teams, scoring touchdowns like crazy, 30, 40 points each. I'm like, why can't the Jets do this?
I know what you're saying. Even I think we talked about it before we went on the air. Even on Thursday night when I was watching the Green Bay Detroit game, I was like, wow, this is what it looks like when you have a good, decent team that's well coached. Yeah. It's a
and don't forget, Ed, what I just said. We would be able to say, why can't the Jets do this? Go up and down the field, score points. If we didn't have Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall. We have everybody, so why can't we do what every other team is doing? Good team is doing, scoring 30, 40 points a game. It's got to be coaching, I guess. I'm not sure that's the answer, but
coaching in football is always a big thing. It's more than any other sport. Coaching comes down to coaching and the system that you instill in the players and everything like that fit into it.
Yeah, and I also think about Ulbrich, the coach of the Jets. He knows he's not going to be the coach next year. So he can do whatever he wants. If he wants to be a ball buster, he can say, "Hey, I'm suiting you, Aaron Rodgers. I'm getting fired anyway. So what do I care?"
He wants a job too, so he doesn't want to piss off the he wants to land on his feet somewhere, right? So I guess he doesn't want to piss anyone off and look like he's went on it. He'll be a good company man until for the rest of the season. He'll do whatever they tell him to do. Even if they upstairs tells him, "Listen, it's time to sit Rodgers," they will probably, but we'll see. It's going to be interesting.
Well, the teams I want to briefly talk about are 2 teams in the NFL who I think are super good and have some bad luck, bad karma, tough schedule. And that is the Cincinnati Bengals and even the Los Angeles Chargers. those are teams that have tough schedules. The Chargers almost beat the Chiefs. Of course, the Chiefs have been lucky all year. I might catch up with them in the playoffs. But here's two teams with pretty much Hall of Fame quarterbacks. I mean, both of them. And it also proves my point 1,000 times over when I hear people talking about the quarterback, how Sanchez led the Jets to AFC championship games, or, the too much. So you have the Cincinnati quarterback there, Joe Burrow, right? I mean, his record. Now, what are they going to say about Joe Burrow? Do you see what his stats are? The guy's a phenom, okay? They're going to say, he can't beat this team. He can't get them to the playoffs. This is a team sport. And I can't stand it when they say the quarterback hasn't beaten this team. He's not playing defense, and it goes back to my days with Tony Romo, and Romo sucks and this and that. You got a guy who passes for 4,000 yards every year, 30, 40 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, and because his team isn't good, they blame it on him. What's your take on that?
I like Joe Burrow. I think it's just it's the bum year for them. I mean, some teams have an off year. I think it's an off year for Cincinnati. I think they'll be back next year, hopefully. I think it's just a bum year. And the Chargers are good. The Chargers are 8-5. They're going to make the playoffs. Like the Chargers are good. They're in a tough, they're in a division with Denver's 8-5 and Kansas City's 12-1. I mean, and they're just.
But I was just talking about the point that the professional sportscasters say, like, Joe Burrow or Justin Herbert hasn't been able to beat the Chiefs, or
it's like Josh Allen can't beat Mahomes, right? Same thing with Josh Allen can't beat Mahomes, right?
Right. I'm saying, like, listen, it's a team sport, and I wish they wouldn't say that. Like, he's never beaten the Patriots, or he's never gotten to the playoffs, so he loses in the. It's not him.
I agree. It's
not boxing. You know what I'm saying?
No, exactly.
It's not a boxing match.
It just sells papers, and it's fine. I agree. It's not It comes down to
the guy passes for 400 yards and throws 5 touchdowns, no interception, lose the game, and they say, "Oh, he hasn't beat." Like, it's not him; it's a team sport.
Agreed. Yes, I 100% agree with you in that one.
Yeah, I just wanted to get that right, because some people we only won one Super Bowl. You never won a Super Bowl. Like, it's a team.
Just one thing. There's some big games next week, right, Dave? I mean, I'm looking at that. I'm looking for the Buffalo, the Buffalo Detroit game. I think Pittsburgh might be playing Philadelphia next week too, right? Is that next week?
Pittsburgh is playing Philadelphia. Yes.
Those are two big games right there.
Good games going on. Very good games. But so the Lions are playing the Bills.
Yeah, that could be a preview of Super Bowl. Who knows?
That should be a good game. The Lions should win that game. I don't know.
Well, Buffalo might be looking. Buffalo lost a tough game, yesterday. So I could see them, saying we got to stay in striking distance of the Chiefs. So
we'll what's funny? It's now this new college format with the 12 playoff teams. It's like, if number 3 or 4 loses in their championship conference game, whatever they call it, they're not getting knocked down to 13. So it makes a big difference. Like, the Lions are in, the Bills are in. It's like, okay, win the playoffs. And I think you want to be healthy. And like I said, listen, how about those Rams, huh? Those Rams are no joke.
Agreed. I mean, that was a great.
I probably should have bet that game. You have a championship, coach and quarterback. I mean, they're no joke. And that was a tremendous game, though. Either way, anybody could have won that game.
Agreed. But Buffalo is Buffalo. I think Buffalo feels that they it's going to be tough to beat Kansas City in a championship game. They're going to, they said they want to at least try to make a run and get home field. I know that they're behind now, but
it's going to be interesting, man. You know what's going to be interesting, Ed? The last couple of weeks, probably the last 2 weeks, I would say, because there are so many teams vying for those wild card spots. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. And then, it's one of those things. Like, let's just say if the Rams were the wild card team, I mean, you don't think the Rams can beat everybody? They're not, that's a possibility. I'm saying I'm not, not to be favored, but
I don't think they have. I think aren't the Rams more realistic to try to get to win a division? Because I think that's 7-6. I'm not sure if they can get a wild card right now, because Minnesota's 11-2, Green Bay's 9-4, and then Washington's 8-5, right? So I think they're probably
I know
they could be shooting for the division. I mean, they're only a game behind. Seattle's only 8-5, and so they're only one game behind Seattle.
It's funny how I feel bad for these teams because they play so well compared to the Jets. I told my son and other people, I would be rooting against some of these other AFC teams if the Jets were playing as good as, say, the Chargers or as good as the Rams. But I don't really. They're not even playing good enough to root for them. So yeah, it's who's playing well.
The question, I more just not to change subjects, but
Yeah,
can the Jets make a run at the worst record and get a draft a
I
quarterback?
know, I know.
They're 3-10 right now, right? They're
Well, they're
three.
battling the Giants and maybe one or two other teams I'm not aware of. I mean, probably the Jaguars, I guess, as well. Also,
They have the same record. They're all 3-10. I think the worst record in football right now is the Giants at 2-11, and
yeah.
in Vegas.
I mean, but I mean, listen, what do the Jets really need right now? Like a rookie quarterback? I mean, what do they need? Even if you were like the first or second pick, third pick in the draft. I mean, I don't know how good the draft class is for the quarterback this year, but I think Tyrod Taylor will stick around, and this other guy that nobody knows about, Travis Jordan, I think his name is.
I know the one thing about the one my dad was telling me. It's funny. He's a lifelong Jet fan. I remember Joe Namath winning. He was saying, "You know
Mhm.
what the Jets should do? They should hire Deion Sanders as their coach and draft his son as the quarterback."
Yeah,
But I don't. I think he's going to go. I think he's projected top 3 or 4 picks. I don't think they're going to get him Deion Sanders' son as a quarterback out there. That would
yeah.
be interesting having prime time in New York like that. If you get Deion Sanders and his son here to start to come together in.
Well, Woody Johnson would that's something Woody Johnson would definitely do to sell tickets. There's no doubt about that. Uh, but I mean, if you look at the Jets, basically we have the Jaguars will probably lose to the
Miami
Rams,
again.
the Bills, the Dolphins. So you're talking about if we get one more win out of
Four
that, and
wins
depending on what the
mid-season.
Giants and other teams do, uh, that would give the Jets 4 wins. So the Jets have 3 wins. The New England has 3 wins. Cleveland's down there with 3. Jacksonville, Tennessee. The Raiders have only 2.
And the
Giants 2. So they're ahead. So yeah, I don't know.
I'm not so certain the Jets are going to that they're going to win that game. They could lose to Jacksonville too next week. So I don't think they
You know
have
what
that.
though, Ed? I tell you right now, the draft picks. I mean, I'm so lost and confused. I mean, I don't know what to hope for anymore because everything I've hoped for has pretty much come to fruition, and nothing has really came of it.
Well, I'm saying the Jets are on the road. They could lose that game next week to Jacksonville.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't
Well,
put that in the win column just yet. They could lose outright.
yeah, absolutely. So, all right. Well, we'll see what happens. We'll chat next week. We'll check the maybe the around the league thing and stuff like that. Since there's not too much to talk about the Jets, since they
We can talk about the 2 big games: the Pittsburgh Eagle game, and
Detroit
Detroit and
Bills.
Buffalo.
Yeah, yeah, that should be good. That should be interesting. But all right, Ed, be well. We'll catch up next week.
Sounds
And
good, Dave. Always thanks for having me.
can I say let's go Jets or is it too late? I don't know.
We could say I don't think I make any difference. We
Yeah,
can say it.
we'll see what happens. All right. Have a good one, Ed.
All right, Dave. Thanks again.
Bye bye.